Jack, there, because one of the things that's crossing my mind as you were speaking, and even before then, was this issue of management of information, which Dr. Ezekwesili alluded to in her response. The management of information. Would you say that the federal government and the different agencies of government have managed information well? Because critics have been saying that that is why there is this element of doubt that quite a lot of parents have had and are still having about even the level of success that's achieved now.
See, you know, the tragedy of Nigeria is that it seems to be a nation at war with itself. You see, what we are witnessing now has been indicated all along. Trying soldiers for mutiny. All this kind of subversion from within, right? So it's not a question of managing information alone. If you are being fed with wrong information, for instance, to put you on the spot, what do you do?
Fed by who?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying that the country is at war with itself. Maybe through, look, let me give you an instance of the president. Everybody was blaming him that he waited for 19 days to react. On what basis does a president take decision? Is it not the information that he was given? So that
who are the people that are giving the information? Is it not the people working for the president?
My police? Yeah.
Shouldn't the president be sacking them and getting rid of such people?
How many people are you going to sack?
Everybody that's around
reality, you are now confronted with reality of mutiny, of soldiers accusing their commanders of sending them deliberately to be ambushed. Right? Look, and that's what people are saying increasingly, that the Boko Haram is now more political than any other thing else. You see people, when Nigerians speak with conflicting, you know, they make conflicting statements on this issue. You get it. Now, I'm telling you that is a real evidence. How do you account for that?
Would you say there's clarity of vision on the side of the presidency and the federal government in terms of some of these issues that makes it such that they can deliver stuff?
I'm not interested in criticizing the president. What I am interested in is clarifying
we're just analyzing.
No, because you see, this is where we lose it. For me, this is not, the Chibok crisis doesn't have for me the utility of criticizing the president. It's of resolving it. That is what matters. Right? You even were saying now that you don't know what was, but the defense chief has said categorically that the army has called a truce. So that means that it's going to happen. There is no other basis. There's no. On what other basis will you come to a different conclusion? If the chief of defense staff in a country says they have entered into a truce publicly with a group, and as a result of that, this will happen. So why are we now saying that?
I guess it's probably because of the amount of doubt that has been created because of the historical facts.
How was it? Where? When?
But you did mention that the quality of information
there was never a time before now that the concerned authorities, namely the military, gave a specific saying that we've gone into a truce with Boko Haram. There was never a time before. So there's no room to doubt what the basis for that is non-existent. Right?
Yeah.
It is we Nigerians that create the crisis of management of information.
You're putting the blame on Nigerians, or you're putting it in on the seats or the lap of the president and the presidency, aren't you?
No. When you politicize issues, when somebody says this, I just gave you an example. The military authorities, they are central to an issue, and they have given you their word. They said they've gone into a truce, and yet we are discussing here whether it will happen, whether you can rely on this or not.
But okay, we will come back to that. Let me ask you, very Reverend, so that we don't dwell too much on it, but we'll come back to it. Let me ask very Reverend Makindikwe, as a parent and parishioner, clergyman, what are your thoughts about where we are now, 6 months on? One would have expected that this would have been over within a month or 2 or 3, but 6 months, 3 times the number of 2 or whatever. What are your thoughts about where we are now?
My thoughts as a parent comes from different source of my understanding of what is happening. In the first instance, we should not forget that Nigeria is a nation, and as a people, we don't have a sense of commitment and patriotism. As a people, we are not patient. We like our leaders to work like magicians, and in many instances, it has not worked for us. As the father of 3 lovely children, as a Christian and a Methodist, of which my own church has some female children among the girls, my own concern is this, that what has been done within our nation as a political entity, as a concerned nation, to work through some of these things. Let me say from the beginning that we need to give kudos to several organizations, of which our sister is a leader of one of them, that they have helped to sensitize us within this nation that we need not to forget these girls in the forest. And this sensitization has also prompted our brothers and sisters outside the Nigeria territorial waters to come our way. And that's why nations in the West and the East have been talking and imploring our leaders to do something positive. Having said that, we should also not forget that there's nothing wrong in negotiating with people. Calling Boko Haram people terrorists, I don't think I will agree with that. It's just a way in which people have their grievances with governance at their local, state, or federal level. And unfortunately, the way they are beginning to express their grievances have brought about losing of life and abducting of these young girls.
I'm sorry to interject. If you say that Boko Haram should not be categorized as terrorists, what do we call them? People that go into what kind of grievance would lead a group of people to go into a secondary school and slaughter children, 50 of them or more, and then roast them like goats? What kind of grievance?
I'll tell you this. In this nation, several wars have been waged against ourselves in the name of hunger, in the name of politics, in the name of religion, and now Boko Haram. So it's always nice for us to get our terms of reference. I will believe that these people have been grieving and they have been complaining for a lot of time. I'm a Christian, so it's easy for me to label them Muslim, terrorists, bad people. But I see people first and foremost as human beings, creatures of God, and people who we need to cohabit together. In this nation, remember, in the 60s and 70s, we cohabit peacefully. We share on religious basis. We intermarry, and we go to school together. So what has led to this in the past 10, 15 years, that we fail to see one another eyeball to eyeball, we fail to negotiate again, we begin to classify ourselves as Christians, Muslims, Northerner, Southerner. There are other issues that warranted some of these things. But why I say I will not classify them as terrorists is this. All over the world, when nations war against nations, using the word of Bob Marley, there are ways and means of bringing about truce and good negotiation. And part of it is that, I said at the beginning, we are not patriotic in this nation. Let's look at it. Boko Haram came as a result of many issues, but look at it from the military point of view. Why would men and women who swore at the beginning, and they joined the military at age over 18, swore to defend the integrity of Nigeria? Joining the military implies you have signed your death warrant. Why would they, within the system, refuse to go to war to rescue our daughters? Why would they, within this system, turn against orders of their commander-in-chiefs or their GOCs? To be honest, many of us Nigerians commit what we call verbal mutiny. And if you really look at it, several of us will have gone different ways because we fail to appreciate what this nation gives us.
So that we can move on, but let me just very quickly pick this issue. I know I read a number of books about the First and Second World War, and one of the things that stand out for me is the fact that soldiers were accused of having gone to a situation where they were killing Jews and Israelis and killing people, and now they